First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
And Onondaga, I think, just did that, right?
Yeah, and we will do that. And part of that was, that was one of the casualties I think you saw over the last couple of weeks of the void in leadership in the state, because the buck got passed like almost instantaneous the next day by Zucker saying follow CC and your local health department.
And Syracuse.com is reporting that the governor's office called the health department and said, stop, don't issue any guidance. Yeah, almost as if the governor was like, oh, do you want to treat me like this?
Yeah.
Do it on your own.
It was, so that was kind of crazy. That threw things into a frenzy again. And because, we've all been told, don't do anything you can't or whatever, even though we worked very well with the school districts. So I've been having conversations. We're trying to hook up and with some superintendents, but also with BOCES that oversees this. That's the drill. And, what we've been coming up with, and we want to, and I talked to Peter Blake after he was on that day. It just so happened we were communicating via email, and I called him, and my point is, yes, I do want consistency. I think we need to have some consistency. I said so that, whether it's Whitesboro, Rome, Utica, New Hartford, whatever the district, without pointing them that, then we get into the, my kids over here are doing this, but Jeff's kids are doing this, and Bill's kids are doing that, and we're all over the place. And so I'd like to see us put those guidance in that have specific consistencies. And if it's mask, it's a mask. And I really believe that will be. So I know that that's gonna put that makes me the.
You
go back to being the unpopular guy.
Basically, what they're asking is for you to be the bad guy.
We'll be the bad guy. Be the bad guy for one group and the good guy
and
for another group. And that's all. But that's the role we're in. So we do. And then state ed today, I saw some article, or in the last couple of days that state
they're
ed
coming
put out
Yeah.
something. And so we are still in this void, and especially with the change in leadership on the state level. I mean, with the 14 days, you got. Who's making decisions?
And that's why I worry that the calls for everybody to resign and that had any contact or any dealings with Governor Cuomo within this leadership probably is not a smart move now.
No, I don't think she's looking at that entirely, and I can't speak for her. Obviously, I did talk to her last week. Actually, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's time, that and clearly. She gets local issues. She knows the bind that we're in certain things more than anybody. But, the point is, she's got to put together an executive office. I don't think you're going to see wide-ranging changes, although, in time, if whether it's on the health side or whether it's in state ed or other things, that she has that ability. And I don't think she should, I also don't think, though, that she should resist those changes given, and hopefully she won't given, the predicament she's been put in. She's in a tough spot.
No doubt about it.
It's not, I went through, totally different, piece in transitioning, to, when I became county executive. But, there's the peaceful thing. This one is I don't want to say it's a hostile thing, but it's an uncomfortable thing.
I have about 4 minutes left, 4 to 5 minutes left.
Go ahead. It was a stupid comment.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Wayne with a question. Hi, Wayne, for the county executive.
No question. I just wanted to tell you guys, Jackson was doing the homeschool thing last year. Then the school started to come back.
Yeah.
His behavior turned around tenfold in how he acted just because of being around kids. It was a positive. Yeah. So the kids going back to school is a good thing.
Yeah. Can you tolerate the mask? Can your kid tolerate the mask?
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. He hasn't complained about it one bit. I think like what you guys said, I think they just got to get them to change it more. When they're at school, change them out more. That's all.
Right, so they're clean. And the other part is it's so important for parents to encourage and to act as a role model here. If your version of a role model is telling the kid that the masks are bad and you shouldn't have to wear them, what do you expect? How do you expect your kid to react? They're not going to wear them. So it all starts with the parents, unfortunately. Okay, Wayne, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
The governor stepping down. We knew it was coming.
Sure.
We just didn't know how long he was going to try to hang on and how long he thought that he could turn this around.
I do think, though, and I said this, I had a department head meeting yesterday with my full all my department's staff and talked about and brought this up because look, we have to be cognizant of harassment, hostile work environment, et cetera. It occurs. We have to deal with it. And and one of the points though, to the lieutenant governor taking over, but also to this whole thing, and that's why I said the other day that the resignation doesn't, it shouldn't just stop what's taking place here. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't just, say that, okay, it eradicates and we're moving on. I mean, there's accountability that has to be. One of the points I made to the department heads yesterday was, look, what he did was appalling, disgusting. You can use different, adjectives and everybody has to describe. But there was another part of this in which in his office, in which some of these women went for help and did not get it the right way.
Right.
And that's, and that really has to be another piece of accountability.
How does that happen?
And I said that to my staff. I go, listen, if somebody does, if you have somebody who's, and doesn't matter on gender.
Yes.
Let's be clear, men, women, race, whatever that is. If somebody does that, and it's wrong, and then that victim comes to you, or and you don't do anything right with it, or it doesn't get handled the right. You're culpable too. You're as guilty as the first guy or gal. And so let's keep an eye on that. And that's why I said it really is important that the resignation just doesn't stop. And I'm not this is not about continuing to pile on the guy,
right.
but it's about finding out. You have to fix this. There's a problem there,
no doubt,
and there has to be accountability. And accountability doesn't go away when I say, okay, I'm leaving. I'll see you if the wrongdoing has been done, and then all right, well then we wipe the slate and we start over. No, you've got to, and that's where I think when the lieutenant governor talks about looking at those things, I think she needs to.
Yeah. You'd have to be a psychotherapist to figure out how it is that this guy who implemented these changes, because of what was going on in the Senate and Assembly with AIDS.
Well, and
implemented in 2018 and didn't think it was for him.
Implemented him and then turned around the other day and said that, it was a generational thing
right.
in terms of him and in terms of his ethnicity, which obviously Italian Americans all over were, including, me, and who's saying,
we love touching people.
Yeah, I know, there you go. It's not, that's not how this works. And I talked about this, my parents are gone. My father would have been 100. He would say, this is not right today. That was one of the first, or in 1940. So none of it was right in that regard. But so that wasn't, but he rewrote the law.
I know.
And the statute and the policy in state government.
Yeah.
That he completely violated, and his staff in turn
allowed it.
And
many were young women. Were young women that it just. And finally, and we'll let you go. And the vindictiveness and the
retaliation.
The retaliation that it wasn't just for this particular case where someone was making an accusation. We've heard for years that this is how this administration has worked, and now you have no friends left and no one left to protect you.
Well, it's like I said last week. He didn't. He just never had friends. He didn't cultivate that. It was kind of an odd. Even, when you look at presidents and governors and other people, even on our different levels, there are people in the legislature that you work with and are friends because they're colleagues, they're allies or whatever.
He didn't have it.
But he didn't have any before,
Right.
Look, it's one thing when something happens like this, but even to call on that, he didn't have it before that. He never cultivated that with anybody.
A social dysfunction that you wouldn't expect out of a leader in his position.
Yeah. As I told you, one of his staff at one point told me, when I asked what was up one time, he just wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
We were somewhere and he just ignored everything and was like, really? It was like, okay. I said, what did I do now? What did I? He's not, he's not even,
he
what
won't
did I do
communicate
that I don't know?
Yeah.
He's not, he said hi and that's about it. And they said, well, silence. And he said, well, he's an odd guy. And that really chalks a lot of it up.
We didn't know how odd.
Yeah.
County Executive, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Stay safe, everybody. Right. Wear a mask.
You might be the last
person.
You might be the last person in the studio. We might be changing our policy all over again.